my name is Nick Shell, and if you're watching this video, which I assume that you are, it implies that you've probably watched me perform my newest song, Ecclesiastes, which you can just click the link below and you can check out the song. I always like to make a video to explain the inspiration behind every song that I write here and publish here on my channel. This one, of course, based off the book of the Bible, assumed to be written by King Solomon, the son of David. King Solomon, known as the wisest man who ever lived. At the end of his life, he looks back, writes some chapters about summarizing ultimately what life is all about. This is coming from the wisest man who ever lived, and basically the richest man pretty much who had ever lived at that point as well. So a man who would really have some insight writes a book in the Bible. And what I did, actually 13 days ago, I sat down in one sitting and I read the whole book. And afterwards I went back and I made notes of my favorite parts of it, basically the highlights. And what's funny is it took up this much room. So from here, I marked my favorite places and created a narrative that I thought, what is the message that I would need to hear from this? And it's funny because when we think of songs from the Bible, I don't think a lot come out of this. Now, granted, there was one popular song. The Byrds had the song Turn, Turn, Turn. And they did that with chapter 3. I pretty much stayed away from chapter 3. I kind of did a lot of other verses here. So I've made it to where pretty much every word you hear in the song is extracted from somewhere in the book of Ecclesiastes. So I'll go ahead and start with the chorus. Go then, eat your bread in happiness, and drink your wine with a cheerful heart, for God has approved your works. It's funny because this is not specifically even like a Christian sounding song. Like, what, drink your wine? That's in the opening line of the song. But it's funny, this is ultimately a very Jewish concept. And this is ultimately the whole point of this, the theme of the song, and really I feel the book and the Bible, is that you can overthink life, but ultimately when it comes down to it, enjoy the gifts that God has given you. And of course, when we add to that what we see Jesus say in the New Testament, love your neighbor as yourself, because this is ultimately the same as loving God. So go then, eat your bread in happiness and drink your wine with a cheerful heart, for God has approved your works. Enjoy your life with the woman whom you love all the days of your fleeting life. Something you might notice is because I was taking every line directly from the Bible, there's not perfect rhymes in here. There's some alliteration, there's some words that kind of rhyme, like go then, eat your bread. But this is one of those songs when you really think about it, it barely rhymes. And that was a challenge I wanted to put upon myself in writing this. Which he has given you under the sun, for this is your reward in your toil. All the rivers flow, yet the sea is not full. Specifically, the full part of that is in the first chapter of the Ecclesiastes. It says, all the rivers flow into the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place where the rivers flow, yet there they flow again. Because a lot of this chapter in the Bible, or this book in the Bible, is about the paradoxes in life. Like, you work so hard and you try so hard, and even if everything turns out okay, or great even, ultimately what's it all come down to? And it's about being grateful for what you have and loving the people around you that God has blessed you with, and finding enjoyment in what you love to do. So going on to the first verse, I set my mind to know wisdom until I realized this is the same as striving after wind. In much wisdom there is grief as the downside. Increasing knowledge is increasing pain. So man, I tell you, that is something I have definitely learned these last couple years of my life, and really drove me back to read this book again, because I feel, man, as far as a book of the Bible that could be themed existential crisis, it would be this one. I think especially this year for a lot of people kind of in that situation with all the stuff that's going on here in 2020. And so I love that line. It's not necessarily the line of the song, but the line of the Bible. Increasing knowledge is increasing pain. That's the paradox in life. The more confident I am in myself and my abilities, and the more at peace I am with what's going on in my life, almost the scarier things get, because I'm like, well, this is actually, for my eyes to be open to this much in the world of how things actually work, this is actually kind of depressing to see how things actually work. Moving on to the second part of that verse. Nothing is better than a man happy in his activities. That is his lot. That is his destiny. For who will bring him to see what happens once he's gone? For God has so worked that men shall fear him to the end. That is a very powerful line. That's one of those note to self kind of situations, because I feel I'm at the point in life where the only thing I actually fear is God. And I think I can understand that in the biblical sense, to where ultimately, yes, I believe every word of the Bible. I believe everything Jesus said. But still, we don't really fully understand this. There's so many question marks that I have. There's so many things about the teachings of Christianity that are in the Bible that I'm just not, I had to come to peace with understanding I'm not going to fully understand it. And I wrote a song about that called I Still Believe. It's also on this channel. If you want to check it out. So moving on to the second verse. I have seen the task which God has given the sons of men with which to occupy themselves. He set eternity in their hearts. God remains a mystery even till the end. So, man, I just love the philosophy of this book. It's, in my opinion, the most philosophical book in the Bible. And again, if anyone is going through any sort of existential crisis or midlife crisis, or, thinking, okay, well, I guess I've got life pretty much figured out, but ultimately, now what? Well, now what is, go then, eat your bread in happiness and drink your wine with a cheerful heart. Be grateful for what God has given you. That's your reward. You work very hard under the sun in your toil. Well, this is your reward. So if you're a man who's married, enjoy this life you have with your wife and your family, because when it comes down to it, it's that simple. So there's my song. Again, if you haven't been able to hear it yet, you just have to click that link right below. It'll take you right to the song, and you can hear the song that I wrote. And again, 13 days ago, I read the book in one setting. I wrote down my favorite parts of the entire book of the Bible, and then from there, turned it into a 3.5-minute song. Thanks for watching this video, and I guess more importantly, thanks for watching the song. Your comments can go right here.